Hello comrades, Kamisabro here today with Battle Brothers. I've been trying to do a video of this game for the past couple of days, and just recording software is being stupid as per usual. Or YouTube's being stupid. Either which way, fuck both of them. So, Battle Brothers. This game is awesome. Like, seriously, this game is really cool. I've been playing this game since it was first announced in early access. Prior to there being goblins and orcs and whatnot, and well, I think they still had the goblin or the orcs, and I don't think they had goblins. Either which way, I remember playing this game when it first came out in the early access. It was really cool. I've been following it since then, and now it's finally been released, and I gotta say, it's absolutely phenomenal. Basically, to describe it, would be if XCOM and Fire Emblem met Mount and Blade. You take a band of mercenaries around the world, which is randomly generated every time, mind you, and you just do some epic stuff. You fight and you yeah. I mean, that's what you do. It's like you fight and then you retire. It's kind of like Sid Meier's Pirates, essentially, in the sense of how you would just kind of go on your adventures until you eventually decide you're done. Or if your whole band dies and you die in turn. So, without further ado, let's get hopping right into a campaign. I'm basically just going to show you guys the basics of the game. There are some late crises you can choose from. There's a variety of difficulties. We're just going to play it on beginner for the sake of impressions for the game. Again, I really just want to show you guys what the game looks like. And you got a bunch of banners to choose from for your party. I really like the whole death one with the scythe sitting on the chair thing. I dig that, but then again, I dig kind of all of them, so we're going to go with death here. There's also a story that goes through the game. Not a very heavy narrative, but it kind of gives you the setup. So, starting off, the last battle. It all went wrong. 2 days ago, the company was hired to track down Hogarth the Weasel and his band of raiders, but it was them who found you first. An ambush, some joke about horses, cut short by an arrow to the throat. Arrows shooting in from everywhere and nowhere. Men holler and scream, a great volume before death. As the hail subsides, you draw your weapon with the rest of the men, only to collapse to your knees. An arrow has punctured your side. You shout in pain. A harried glance sees the men charge without you to make a valiant last stand. Met in force as steel clashes with steel. You meet eyes with the captain, a last nod before his throat is cut. You're left in command now of what few men remain. Trembling in pain, you lean on your sword, and with all the will you can muster, you slowly rise again. Alright, wonderful. So we're going to see that in action. So that was old One Eye getting cut down, and that's our captain. Right, but he's been cut down. Alright, so that gets us into how the game actually works. The game is a turn-based strategy game. It's more tactics than strategy, really. As you can move along these hexes. Everyone has a certain amount of action points. Everyone has a certain amount of fatigue and morale, as well as hit points, and depending on the type of head armor and body armor you give your person as well. So, let's talk about the basics first. Action points. Everyone pretty much has 9 of these things. Action points allow you to do actions such as attack and move. For example, shooting this bolt is going to require 2 action points, but it also builds up fatigue. Fatigue goes up by 5 by using this bolt, and if fatigue maxes out, my individual can no longer use any actions. He's too tired to do so. So with that said, right now he's fine though, there's no fatigue, so we're just going to fire an arrow at the best target, which is his thug standing on the front row. And we hit him. Lucky shot. We injured his shoulder. That's something that will happen throughout the game. There's a random chance of crippling injuries and so on, which bring down stats and make units less effective. For example, a dude may get his eye cut out, or he may have his nose cut off, and then it will actually show that from then on the unit portrait. For example, if our individual here gets his eye cut out, he will forevermore wear an eye patch. Individuals can also have their heads cut off, as this little dude here had his head cut off. You know, body parts can get cut off, like fingers and so on and so forth, or you can lose a whole hand, so then you can only use one weapon. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and reload our crossbow. So his turn is done. He's used all his action points, but it is now Lionheart's turn. Lionheart has a double-handed axe, a woodcutter's axe more specifically, and we're going to move closer to this dude here, and we're going to give him a nice chop to the face. And with a 61% chance to hit, we do a wonderful job of taking him straight to the dirt, the axe becoming bloodied with that cut. Egan is going to move forward as well. We're going to move him right here. Actually, I should have moved him here. Whatever. No big deal. This dude's going to move up one space and stab. Hopefully he doesn't hit us. Okay, good. Our shield blocked. So Hogarth the Weasel managed to successfully retreat from the battlefield, but his brigand thugs are staying to fight. Meinrad, our archer, is going to go over here. And he should be able to fire. Yeah, good. So that's something else, is archers will hit units in front. So you don't want to have your dudes in front when you try to fire a bolt. So for example, I've moved my crossbowman down here, and I'm going to take a shot at this thug. Boom. Ooh, another wonderful hit. Pierced his leg muscles. Oh, that's nasty. Real nasty. And Egan's going to go in for the killing blow. Oh, damn, he didn't kill him. But that's okay, because Lionheart's like, I'm good, baby. I've got this. And he misses. Typical. Oh, crap. Oh, crap. Lionheart actually got hurt, and his body armor is completely destroyed. So basically, the way armor works in this game is it has its own HP, and it reduces the amount of damage that your people take depending on what type of armor it is. Some can reduce it altogether, some only by a little bit. So in this case, Lionheart's HP, or his armor, completely blocked all the damage he was going to take, which is lucky for him. And Meinrad's turn's finished because he reloaded. Alright, Egan's going to go for the Stalab Bean Blow. And he's going to miss. 83% chance to hit both of those. Typical. That's okay, because Lionheart's coming in. And Lionheart killed the bastard. So, after each fight, your individuals get experience, which they level up off of, which can be then distributed to the various skills that exist in the game, or HP and stuff like that. You know, your stereotypical RPG-esque stuff. So, the aftermath of the battle, you're alive. You won. The adrenaline fades, and in its wake, you can't help but sink back to the ground, gritting your teeth. You snap the arrow shaft. Your chest heaves. Pain for breath. Everything blurs. The company has been devastated, cut down to but a few men, and that bastard Hogarth did justice to his name, fleeing like the weasel he is. What now, Captain? A voice says from behind. It's Lionheart the Impaler, who sits down beside you, bedding his bloodied axe on his legs. You turn to him to reply, but before you can answer, he continues. Bernhardt's dead. They slit his throat. He was a good man and a damn good leader, but all it took was one mistake. That makes you the one in charge now, don't it? Meinrad joins the two of you, still breathing heavily, then Egan the Berserker. Save the ceremony and ointments for another day. Let's give the men a good burial and return to Seafield to collect our pay. The Weasel's men are dead, after all. Besides, Captain, we ought to see to that wound before we lose you, too. Who wouldn't want to leave Meinrad in charge, right? So be it. Wonderful. So basically, we're going to go back to Seafield. But before we do that, let's take a look around at the world. So the world is randomly generated. And we can pretty much traverse this whole thing. I think there's actually more areas we can traverse as well as we go around. And each one of these cities is held by a noble house denoted by a flag. So these basically is all owned by one area. This is all owned by one area. This is all owned by one area, so on and so forth. I really like this idea that you can build up favors by completing missions in the various towns. Normally there's neutral towns. I don't see any here. The late game crises also make the game a bit more interesting with undead invasions or orc invasions. Basically, undead invasions, they'll attack a city until they conquer it, and then when they conquer it, it turns into a necropolis, thus spawning more undead. It's actually kind of terrifying when you really start playing it a bit. But this is the world, and like I said, all these terrains denote battlefields that can be fought on. So, for example, being near mountains, if we try to walk like over these mountains, we're going to actually fight on mountainous terrain, which has a lot of terrain advantages and disadvantages. And if we fight in the forest, obviously, there's going to be a lot of trees blocking chokeholds and stuff like that. It's very interesting, but again, it's a nice little feature. Ultimately, let's go back to Seafeld, and continue our little story. What a sorry display it must be for the onlookers as you arrive in Seafeld. 4 bloodied and beaten mercenaries down on their luck. The man who hired the company days ago, Magnus the Burgermeister, no doubt expected you to return in a more glorious fashion. Still, he welcomes you to his house and offers bread and wine while a servant fetches a healer. Few words are exchanged except for the occasional grunt and wheeze as an elderly man with shaky hands tends to your wounds. A pin pierces your skin, the first of many stitches to come. You grit your teeth till you think you hear one break. Magnus the Burgermeister sits beside you and asks if you took care of Hogard. You shake your head. We killed his men, but the weasel eluded our blades in the end. The healer waves around a glowing fire poke, suggesting he wants to push it into your wound. You nod, and he does so. For a moment, that's all there is. You're not a man, but a pinch of fire, flesh from flame, a golem of pain. Magnus the Burgermeister hands you a goblet of wine. You did well, Sellsword. The brigands have been removed, though it is a shame that Hogard still lives. And of course we expect to get paid for this. Magnus the Burgermeister gasps. Well, naturally! 400 crowns is agreed upon. He gestures towards a servant who rushes to your side with the pay in hand. I wonder, may I make use of your services one more time? I'd very much like to end the headache that is Hogard once and for all. And I would pay you again, of course, another 400 crowns, shall we say. Lionheart the Impaler scoffs and turns to drink more wine, but Egan the Berserker stands to speak. Yes, the company is in ruin, but we will rebuild it. Without the Battle Brothers, Lionheart the Impaler would drink the crowns away and end up begging on the street. And Meinrad, by the gods, we all know he'd go chasing the womenfolk until one stove is rotted head in. We need the Battle Brothers. It's all we have. What say you, Captain? Lionheart the Impaler burps and raises his cup to you. Meinrad playfully thumbs his nose and nods. Kill that bastard, Hogard or not, it's up to you, Captain. And we have unfinished business with Hogard, I would say. Magnus the Burgermeister claps his hands in satisfaction. Excellent! My little birds will need some time to find where Hogard is hiding now. In the meantime, I suggest you see about stocking up on supplies so that you'll be good and ready to end this when the time comes. I shall see you in a few days' time at the latest. As you leave Magnus the Burgermeister's house and stand on the outskirts of Seafeld, Egan the Berserker seeks a word with you. We need more men, Captain. I know I gave a big speech back there, but bravado won't do shite. We need more warm bodies in the ranks. Figure we find 3 good men, buy them some decent weapons, and dress them in the best armor we can afford. The man pauses to glance around. I bet this Boduk town's got a desperate peasant or two looking for a new life. Or we could travel to Crumwater in the southwest. Them city folk aren't always as hardy as these country bumpkins, but we're more likely to find men with fighting experience stopping to rest there. And that's what we shall do. Yes. Because if we look, we can see if we try to hire some people, we're going to be a bunch of fishermen. Ooh, Hartvig. What is this dude? A caravan hand. So he's used to fighting. He's even got his own armor. So that's something else that's a feature of this game. Customizing the equipment of your individuals on a weapon-by-weapon basis, and armor and trinkets and so on and so forth. Again, perks. You have various perks that you can get for your soldiers, and you have a variety of stats that affects them in combat. They also get additional skills that randomly generate through their battles. For example, Meinrad has Fearless with plus 10 Resolve, bringing his Resolve to... which one's Resolve? This one's Resolve. No, this was Resolve. To 52, which is actually not that high for someone who's, quote, fearless. He's also an Optimist, plus 5 Resolve at positive morale checks, and bad mood fades away faster. Currently, he is dissatisfied because he lost most of the company. Looking at our other dudes, Superstitious, Loyal, good. I like this guy. He's going to stay with us because he's loyal. I dig it. And Egan has nothing really going for him. But, still, we got some good stuff going on here. So those are our first 3 guys. It would behoove us to hire more. Hartvig's definitely going to get thrown in. And you know what? Let's take the other 2 fishermen as well. Each class has different capabilities. And you'll learn them the more you play. It used to be a little bit more direct. But it's not so much direct now. Now you kind of have to figure it out. So like a caravan hand, he's probably going to be a little bit better at fighting and fatigue and stuff like that. As we see here, he has 3 stars by fatigue, 1 star by melee defense, and 1 star by range skill. So that tells me that he would probably be better off as an archer if we were putting him down that line. But his fatigue also denotes that he can basically take a lot of effort, or he can do a lot more actions than your regular person if we start teching up his fatigue. Alright, so let's take a look at the other fellas. Well, what else does he have? He's got Iron Lungs, so plus 5 fatigue recovery per turn. Wow, this dude is just, I'm digging him. We can be friends. Let's see. This guy's loyal. Wonderful. Robert's loyal. Radulf is irrational. So randomly at every morale check, he's got a plus 10 or minus 10 resolve. But this dude is fragile, so he has minus 10 hit points. So that means that's probably something we should focus on, is increasing his hit points as he levels up. Anyway, we're going to give him a hatchet. Yeah, and he's got a net. So a net can be used to throw on enemies, and then you can take them down with it. And we're going to give Robert the spear. I dig it. I dig it. Alright, so we now have a couple more dudes to go on our little adventure. But we're going to head over to Crumwater and maybe go buy some more weapons and men, because we already got a couple of dudes. Let's go ahead and speed it up. Hopefully we don't run into any bandits as we're walking across the territory. So this is basically Battle Brothers. You go town to town and you pick up contracts and stuff like that. It's a really fun game. I really highly recommend this game. Again, I've been playing it since it first came out in early access, and I've been absolutely addicted to this game. It's really wonderful. It's just as addictive as a game like Mount & Blade. If you like Mount & Blade, you're gonna dig this. It just doesn't feature that combat system. It's a different way to look at it. So, but personally, I like this. I think this is really cool, and I highly recommend it. But anyway, this has been CB. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time.